something I just said, man. Write down your goals to the point of everything's biblical, and don't make your hustle your part of your income, and make it part of your lifestyle. You have to let that money stand alone, and that's the biggest mistake people in our culture. Why we don't succeed is we spend our money on the most, and so the money don't work for us.
How's it going, guys, and welcome to another episode of Secrets of Silent Success. Today we have the one and only Monte Brown. How you doing this morning?
Hey, I'm doing great. How you doing today?
Good. So we'll jump right into it, all right?
All right.
So tell me, for you, what's the importance of business ownership?
The most important thing is being consistent in what you do, being able to adapt to the change, and investing in yourself. I think most business owners I've ran across, and myself, is they're not willing to. First of all, they don't reinvest in themselves by going to training classes, buying the actual tools they need to be successful, and thinking ahead and plan and setting up a business plan.
Yeah.
To grow the business. So, and that's something I can just say I've been doing for the last 20 years.
Yeah.
Really just reinventing myself and growing.
Got you. Where did that mindset come from to continue to reinvent yourself, to continue with learning? Where did that come from?
Well, I graduated from Jackson State. They kind of planted the seeds. They always said, make sure you rely on your network.
Sure.
And don't burn any bridges.
Yeah.
And education is continuous.
Sure.
So, and then I can just say work ethic. Just growing up with my grandmother and mother, they instilled that work ethic in me. So that plays a lot of factor in it.
Yeah. So you mentioned Jackson State. You're a graduate of Jackson State. You guys are doing big things.
We got Coach Dion, Coach Prime. Yeah, everybody knows us now.
Doing big stuff now. Tell me just the importance of HBCUs, and what was your experience like going to a HBCU?
Man, my experience is reality is just family. In so many words, I may have just graduated from Jackson State, but I have friends that we pick up, whether they went to FAMU, Alcorn, Morehouse, Howard. That relationship is automatically picked up. So we know each other. We know our struggles in a sense. So, and some people say people that went to PWI, we kind of harder on them than going to HBCU. They say HBCU people can have a little arrogance or ego about themselves.
Yeah. Got you. I guess I would ask, what's the importance of, I guess you almost explaining camaraderie that you had at a HBCU as opposed to someone like myself, went to a PWI. Sometimes you're the only black man in that classroom.
Right.
Like what's the importance of that camaraderie, and how do you think it sets you up for success?
Man, it's competition in a sense. And you're always trying to see what the person beside you is doing, and sometimes they mind sharing, and sometimes they don't. Sure. But at the same time, you want to make sure if you see something that person has, you want to go after it and make yourself point of being known in a sense. So at the PWI, you automatically stand out. So at HBCU, I want to be the one standing out, and what I got to do is stand out. Either I'm gonna be the person that's with all the grades, I'm going to be on the football team, whatever it may be. You want to make sure you dot your I's and cross your T's. Sure. And that's how it is. I think just by never really thought about it, but being HBCU, we have a little role we have to play in order to get ahead, whether it's on campus or in corporate America. Yeah. We're trying to not so much fit in, but stand out.
Yeah, so staying on that, the theme of college, what were I know we talked a little bit off camera, but what was your initial plans going into college and coming out?
My initial plan was I wrote my goals down when I graduated from high school. My goals were kind of simple. I was going to graduate for BS in accounting, didn't plan on having any kids. I was not going to live in Jackson, Mississippi. Down to the even car I had a 240. I bought the car, so I did all those in the course of 10 years. So, hitting my 28-year class reunion. So, and then got in corporate America. It really wasn't for me. So I set up some other goals and and I think going back to college, they mentioned to always have something going on outside of corporate America. So they planted the seed to be an entrepreneur. So from there, I've done different businesses, but besides real estate, you know, I did a vending machine business. I've done I was looking into a cleaning, janitorial business. And then I got into, you know, listening to that guy Carlton Sheets at the time on and Robert Kiyosaki on Rich Dad Poor Dad, flipping houses, and I bought all the books, listened to Susie Orman.
Yeah, all of that. All of that.
So and kind of the goal was to be an investor, and so and it just went hand in hand, being in finance and working for a real estate investment company, and doing taking real estate class and being an investor. All of it went together.
Yeah. Yeah. So a couple of things I want to talk about there. The first is you sounded very goal oriented, down to the car that you wanted, and they were very specific. When did you start writing down those goals or planning those goals, and how did you achieve those? How did you take those bite-sized pieces to achieve those goals?
Man, taking a chance. A lot of times is I knew I had to always position myself for whatever I want, whether it was for the car. I saved up for it. And I saved up for Dallas. I moved out here with no job.
Wow.
And so, but I knew, like I could recall, I stayed with some friends, and I didn't stay with them long because they put me out. But I realized to always plan for the next, because you can't put all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
So that's been my MO. Maybe I've always been impulsive in so many ways.
Okay.
And people say you don't have any patience, and I really don't. So,
yeah.
and most of anyone that knows me said, man, you always think about the next move. It's like chess.
Sure.
So, and that's the game of life. It's like, what's your next move? Most people get stagnant and only think outside of it. And so you feel like, you realize you have a conversation with yourself. So my way of thinking has always been different amongst my peers.
Okay. Well, now I want to talk about that. So I was going to add, my next question was going to be, they planted that seed of entrepreneurship while you were in corporate America, right? They were saying, hey, you need something outside of entrepreneurship. But not everybody takes that bait. You took that bait.
Right.
And I'm assuming that's because you think differently than your peers.
Correct.
So how? Where does that come from? How do you feel that you started to think differently than your peers?
Well, I say me and my best friend, I say we would go back and forth like the Rich Dad Poor Dad, and his dad was educated, get a good education, try to move up, you know, get your master, get your doctorate, to move up, and as I proceed, I'm like, you know, and I go back. I'm just use my wife. I go back and forth. I'm like, why am I gonna get another degree? What are they gonna get paid? How much more money they gonna pay me? Like $10,000 more, which is not enough to factor in the debt of getting another degree. But I've always think of the numbers of my time. You have to maximize and buy back your time. Most people don't put a value on their time. So, and I've always thought about that. I'm like, why am I gonna spend almost $100,000, $50,000, go get a master just to get a $10,000, maybe $20,000 raise? It don't add up.
Sure.
So with that being said, I was like, I would think of different ways to generate income. And so, and just going back to my buddy, and I can recall we used to promote parties or have parties, and we used to always, he wanted to do them free, and I'm like, we should charge. Nah, man, we need to do it free. I'm like, oh man, this dude, he don't get it. And so it was always trying to get people to, you know, they said my nickname is Money B. Yeah. So you always think about money, man. You ain't, you know. I'm like, and I would go back to us being in college. Is he'll get $100 salary on Friday, he'll be broke on Sunday, and then we'll argue over 25 cents. I would pay for, back then McDonald's like $3.25. I break my $5. He said, man, let me get that quarter.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I ain't give you no quarter. I saved my change. You know
Yeah. For sure. That's my quarter.
Hey. Yeah. So we'll go back and forth, literally arguing over quarter. And, you know, I want to be, you know, put it out there, but we'd be ready to just bump head, like, and we would always go back and forth on just his more structure.
Yeah.
Mine's more like freelance of how I'm gonna do it. So,
Sure.
and that's the reality. And it didn't sit in until, for me, you never know because I wasn't around anybody that truly was my other friend Chris, his parents own their own funeral home, but I wasn't around them close enough to grasp hold of the information. I'm a sponge when it comes to knowing somebody's business and seeing what they're doing, and I can add it to mine to figure it out. So,
yeah. So one thing that I struggle with is something innate or can it be learned? I feel like myself, I had that same bug of I can monetize this. Mm-hmm. Even third grade, I'm making little pictures. My grandmother's friends come from church, and I like them. Hey, you give me $2, it's yours.
Yeah.
Right? But is that something that's innate? Is that something that can be learned? Because I feel like I saying it's innate doesn't give us any credit. Right? Because it's like, okay, you were born with it, you weren't born with it. What's your thought process on that entrepreneurial mindset, or that ability to, hey, I want to monetize whatever I can?
Man, and I'm just gonna go off of my my buddies I hang out with that here, and we have an investment club, and so, and I was fortunate to sit at the table with a group of Asian, and actually the person that got me over here, he's down the hallway, close friend of mine. We've been friends for about 20 years, got in real estate together. He's Asian, and he introduced me to ARIA, which is Asian Real Estate Association, and that's really the first time for me I felt in the norm. Meaning that I could talk to them, and they got about 8 things going on. And it was not like, damn, man, you got a lot of stuff going on, man. You hustle, man. Over there, it's the norm. Yeah. Meaning it's like they in their culture, and then some of my buddies they get a little upset because I'm bragging on them. I'm like, these dudes are the truth. You being around about the truth, meaning like they just don't want one house. They want 10 houses. Mm-hmm. They just don't want 10 houses. They want to own commercial building. They want to have like Uber service. Some will have I can't think of that little car service where they rent their vehicles out. Mm-hmm. So they got Airbnb. They got Turos. They doing insurance. It's like it's ongoing. And then a lot of some guys, like some of my clients I manage their properties for, they're buying a house in their 20s. For property management, brother and sister going together to buy their first investment property.
In their 20s? In
their 20s. Wow. Most the African American, we buy our homes in our mid-40s, in our 40s.
To live in.
Yeah, to live in. Yeah. And so, and then, even when it comes to just, I get talked about the houses I own, like, why you live over here? Why you drive this? And I'm like, dude, it's I'm setting myself up for success. I'm trying to move on, so it's always a tug of war where they're going to buy a Lexus or a Benz. I'm riding around a Nissan Kick or holding on to my 240 or getting the older Act. It was never like I'm going to buy something brand new from the parking lot. I'm like, dude, now you want to talk about investment houses? I lose myself over it. I find some money to go do a house in a heartbeat, but trying to get them to see that bigger picture, you might as well just keep it yourself, but being around other culture, it's automatic, just seeing around, I'm only black amongst Asian, and they look at me, why am I here? Mm-hmm. And at the same time, I've been vetted.
Sure. Yeah. Whew. A couple things I want to unpack there. The first thing is, I hear that you thinking it may be cultural. Hey, Black American, you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
If you never been into a room or had that exposure, as I would say, to know, hey, these are the stream of incomes that's accessible to you to build the type of life that you would want, as opposed to just going and getting the Lexus or the Benz. Right. You don't even know that's available to you. So obviously that's a cultural aspect. But then you said another thing. You were like, hey, I can go tell somebody that, but if they don't want it, they don't want it. Right. One of the things that I struggle with in life, and Mr. Stanley, producer over there, knows, I talk about this with everyone. You can take a mule to water, but you can't make it drink.
You can't
right? So I always ask people, what is your thought process on passing along that information and getting others to buy in like you can? Does it not exist, or
you know what, man? We're visual people in our culture, and I'm past president of a trade organization and a black trade organization. That's the conference that I mentioned I came from, and when I became president, I can go and just say they gave me rules about leaving my other association I was part of, because I started off with Asian before I became that. We're good, but at the same time, we put blinders on. You know, we want to enhance our blackness, but we want to take on our blackness. But at the same time, there are things that we need other communities for, and so people respect you more if you control your dollar. And most of us don't know how to control it. It's like I can set you up. Like I go back and forth with my wife, and I say, hey, if you want something, you got to set yourself up for it. You just or plan what you plan on doing. You can't be expecting somebody to just give it to you or make them, just appear at some point. But and even putting people in houses, it's like a house to them can be like a buffet. I tell them this is your first house, not your last house. The average person lives in the house like 5 years, but people that the mindset of being at home 30 years has become obsolete.
Sure.
So just trying to see people don't see that. They kind of stuck in their ways, especially us, and my circle of friends that get it is small, but it's like you have to show people it's doable.
Yeah. Yeah, and you talk about your circle of friends. I think you had a Facebook post that was like, if you hang around 4 broke people, you'll be the 5th, and then you can also exchange broke for rich, right? So tell me the importance of having that close network that have similar goals.
Man, and I use my buddy down the hallway. He saw things I didn't see when it came to just being exposed. It's like, because I always ask person, are you first generation or second generation? And as far as being an entrepreneur, he's oh man, I'm like 3rd or 4th.
Wow.
And so here it is, and most of us like 1st or 2nd of anything. And then and it's at the same breath, but we run it down chasing degrees. And so you factor in, what is your degree worth? Does it match up to your debt with what you paid for? So you have to figure out, how can I leverage my degree with what I have, and then too, we so in a rush to go get the car to make it to appear that we are a certain way. In actuality, we're not. And that goes from people that's my age in their 40s and whatnot, and you telling them all you got to do is I remember when the market crashed and people were losing their house during the short sale. I mean, when a lot of short sales were going on. And, one of the things lenders do is they look and see your bank statements. And they can tell you cut out Papa Do's, you cut out getting your nails done every week, you cut out getting your hair cut every week. You can save about $400 or $500. And most people don't do it. But I go look at the young lady that I was dealing with. I'm like, you blow your mortgage $1,200 and you blowing $800 on a car note.
Yeah.
I don't get it. So,
yeah,
a lot of things don't register, and you can't make people see it that don't want to see it. So it's a waste of conversation.
What made you see it? I know for me personally, growing up, didn't grow up in the worst circumstances, but didn't grow up in the best ones either, right? So you didn't have a lot of exposure. It wasn't until I got into college, own my own business, first generation, as you just said, first generation, I started meeting other black entrepreneurs, and I was like, people live a little differently than I did, and then you start to want to attain some of the things that they have. It's not just riches, but it's wealth and health. It's wealth and relationships. It's wealth and network. What was your, I guess, turning point to say, like, hey, I want to attain that too?
You know what? I knew when I first flipped my first house back in like 2000, and me and my buddy, we made like $15,000 a piece. And so he went and got a Lexus. I went and painted my 240. I went to the Amoco and bought and painted that 240. And it was like $200 and bought me a nice little jacket. So I spent less than $600. And I believe I'm a firm believer in that you cannot make your hustle your income. Number one mistakes people do is make their hustle a part of their income, which means that it's part of their lifestyle. Your hustle or your money, your vision for your business needs to stand alone, so that way you can see the money grow. So I had a separate account for just real estate, and then I had my job account. my bill account, and I was still retiring my 401k. And a lot of it just came from just reading books like Rich Dad Poor Dad, Susie Orman, about saving a certain amount. I could recall paying my car, but I still act like I paid a car
Nissan.
note. Yeah, the Nissan 240. I still act like I paid that car note.
Yeah.
And so, and then I had a special account for that.
Mm-hmm.
And so at the end of the day, you start looking like, damn, this money here has grown a lot. And you might see little stuff I got over there. I bank with everybody. So, and I understand, but I learned that in corporate America, the company I worked for, the guy was like, he owned the land over in Farmers Branch off of 635 and 190, which is now Mercy Crossing, and he was a genius as far as like how he structured himself to do it, and I just picked up on it where, you know, in certain things you do, you see it, and that's your vision, and you're trying to convince somebody they don't see it, you know, you might as well talk to yourself. And
yeah. So to switch gears a little bit, talking about what it is that you do here at BSA, you've been in the industry for almost 20 years now. Can you just tell me about your real estate journey?
Real estate journey, man, is I've had some highs, and I've had some highs. I won't say lows. I've always had growth, meaning you have to plan for the harvest, and you got to be able to plan for when things are slow. Like right now, it's a tough market, but going to training classes, you're ahead of the curve where everybody now is trying to just figure it out. So for me, I started out trying to sell. I saved my money from corporate America. When they let me go from corporate America, I was already in position to start my own. I went back and forth with my mother for a whole year. At that time I was married to a young lady. I was getting married to a young lady, and she was like, should I tell my mom you don't have no job? I'm like, huh? You know what I'm saying? You know, it goes back to saying, you know, black man, no job, you know?
Yeah.
And so, and I got laid off November 22nd, 2004. But I got laid off that Friday. And I was saying, man, this man laid me off. Man, don't he know I'm getting married?
Yeah. Like that matters to him.
And so
another number.
And so I remember the HR people sitting, they were in the room, HR guy sitting there, and my supervisor sitting there. I said, oh man, I knew it was up.
It was coming.
And I had just had a conversation with a coworker. I said, man, they supposed to let me go anytime, not knowing they was letting me go that same day in the midst of the conversation.
Yeah.
Of me having with it. So, and then I said, hey, I'm gonna make it easy for you guys. I said, well, you know, they was talking about what they was doing, and you know, words have meaning. People can be creative as far as trying to get rid of you. I said, well, demote me, make me a staff, promote him, and I'm good, and keep it going. Because I was like, I ain't want to relearn nothing. I just want to keep hustling.
Yeah.
You know, and what I realized, I was a bad employee. I was a poor employee, and so I realized you reap what you sow. So I had several people that worked for me remind me of myself, you know, and they made it about themselves. So, but at the same time, I jumped in real estate full time and never looked back. I argued with my mother back and forth, and the wife at that time was like, you looking for a job? I said, man, I'm done with corporate America. It's a wrap. At the same time, I had money coming in. Well, I'm going to sit around here. I doubled my salary sitting behind somebody else's desk. Yeah. You know, that time, you know, I think, you know, 6 figures was good. That was good eating. So and you have to figure out how I'm going to keep this money going.
Yeah, absolutely.
So.
Yeah. So you mentioned that you realized that you were a bad employee. Tell me when or how did you realize you were a bad employee? And now you are an employer of employees. How do you deal with those who may be underperforming or quote-unquote bad employees? Man,
you put it out there. A lot of people, like real estate, they figure out a way to monetize where people say, I'm going to get my license. Yeah, okay. You know, and they know people, they have already stats how many people are going to keep their license. And at the same time, if like, I went to a conference and I paid for myself to go. And so, and I look at realtors, and if they don't want to buy no sign, if they're looking for everything free, if they're not trying to go and pay for a training class to buy things for improvement, they're just taking up space and time, you know. So, and that's the thing, they're not taking it serious. And with my agents, I put it out there for them. I was like, hey, who want for me to mentor them? I can't. You're an independent contractor. You have to do it. As far as employee, I just maximize their time as far as the work that's being done. Like I have 2 staffs that work for me, and she just got her license. I think she'll do fairly well, my staff here, because she's consistent. And a lot of times, a person got to know their why. Mm-hmm. The why they're doing it. What are you doing this for? Your why will keep you in the game. If a person don't have their why, it's the light. There's no light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah. How does a person find their why?
Man, your why can be your family. Your why can be your kids. Your why can be you have to factor in what you want. Really, you got to know yourself. Yeah. Mine is generational wealth. Mm-hmm. So I have 2 small kids, so that's my why. Sure. I really wasn't because once money comes, it's one factor. Mine is, can I pass this on? And I look at like Trump. Trump got his whole family around him, and I don't like a lot of things. He's like 3rd, 4th generation. Mm-hmm. You start thinking about Rockefeller and them. These guys are like 4th, 5th generation, passing major dough down. And in our culture, a lot of times people, we need to pass the hat to bury somebody.
Yeah, literally. literally. Another interesting thing that you said that I think is also cultural, you talked about your former wife or your wife at that time, and your mother was like, hey, a black man needs to go get a job. I know for me, when I was in college, the first semester I'm focused on school. The second semester, I got to get a job. Even though I was already doing freelance and things before I even got to college. Yeah. I knew how to make $1 without going to get somebody else's dollar, right? But it was that mindset that's ingrained in you, black man need to get a job.
Right.
So how did you overcome, I guess, that negativity about a black man need to get a job, and how can we just kind of reverse that mindset to say, hey, entrepreneurship is a viable option?
Well, right now I've been doing this since full time since the N04. Mm-hmm. So you got 16, 17 years in the fold. So and my mother sees. I talk to her almost every morning. Like when she was going to work, I was going to work.
Sure.
So you got a lot of people saying, man, I get to when I get to. I work for myself, and so the early bird catches the worm. So by the time the average realtor, whoever gets started, I've already took 8 steps. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's you take vacation, people like, man, I'm on vacation, I'm chilling. I'm not built that way. I mean, I'm always thinking like the next. Mm-hmm. A lot of times, the next.
Yeah, and again, the thinking 2 steps ahead, is that something that's learned? Is that something that can be taught? Is that something that's just, hey, that's just Monte Brown?
That's me. That's
gotcha.
me. That's me. So, and I just go like my peers I'm around, and they spend their time doing what they do. I'm not one to hate on them, but but people always tell me, chill out, man, you doing too much. Even my wife came in. You left out. You came right in time, went and worked and straight in work mode. You work mode again, and I look at it like this. I'm like, if I don't do it, who gonna do it? In so many words. I said, something goes wrong. Who you expect to fix it? Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? You become the solution for many people based off your resources and the information you know.
Sure. So like you said, you've had a business for 16, 17 years, and we've talked about some of the keys to running that business. But yeah, tell me some more secrets. Obviously, you said early bird gets the worm. You got to stay 2 steps ahead. What are some other secrets of how you've had a successful business for 16, 17 years?
Man, being in the right place at the right time, being prepared. Meaning, like, I can say when I got a HUD contract, that was a multi-million-dollar contract. And that's because I was ready. Meaning that I was a broker for number one. I had a corporation set up. And my old broker, he put me in position to win. Meaning, like, he had 5 brokers. Out of 500 agents, he chose me as one of the 5th to go after this HUD contract. Life never been the same. Life changed right then. And so, and I put my name in the hat, submitted the bid, won, and then I didn't have enough people, and then just doing people right. Mm-hmm. And so he gave me that contract. And he didn't give it to me, but I submitted my paperwork because you needed to have like $10,000 at that time, $10,000 line of credit.
Mm-hmm.
You had to have a corporation. And then I was a broker. I had to be a broker. A lot of people, when they set stuff up, they too busy trying to, man, I need this, I need that, and they're not prepared.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times and that's why I got these investment clubs. My buddy is when opportunities is available, you got to be ready, or it may not come back around.
Sure.
So, and that's my thought process. Always be prepared for the opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you've mentioned these investment clubs. This is something I'm just learning about you. That's not in the show notes whatsoever. But tell me a little bit about those investment clubs and how you all got them started and kind of what goes into that. Because as 20-something-year-old black man, most circles I can assume are not talking about investment clubs.
Well, me and my buddies, they've tried prior. It's right now. It's 7 of us for one of our groups. Because I have 2.
Okay.
So we started out initial because it work your way up. So we put initial like $100 aside, then 200. Opportunity comes up, we'll dig deeper for it, and we end up investing in, like when COVID kicked off. We had a disinfectant company, and we did well doing that. We invested about $10,000, but we pulled the money from our investment club and loaned it to this company we created called DAP. And so we had the money already planning. When somebody needed a loan for just a small lending purposes, we've been able to lend money on that. That's just one thing we do. And then some of them have invested in other opportunities around the city. So that's because we initially put small amount of money aside every month. Because what you're doing is not so much, you're gaining trust.
Mm-hmm.
And you're seeing who's committed to growth. So that's how and then at the same time, we've all created different avenues of income from that group. And these are my boys I hang out with like once a week.
Mm-hmm.
And so you think about it, the people you most around, why not make money with them?
Yeah, absolutely. My fiance talked to me about that. She's like, yeah, everybody that you talk to, you share money with, whether it's your friend from high school, whether it's the guys from college, my business partners we went to high school with, everybody. How do you, and I know you talked about building trust, but how do you navigate that as these are people that you're close with, but you also share money with?
Man, for me, I'm a treasurer, for one.
Okay.
And people trust me with money.
Mm-hmm.
I've had people want to invest in what I do.
Sure.
I don't really got to beg for too much money. I can come up with if I need it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that comes off the trust. But at the same time, I think like my other group, which was a group of, we went from 70 real estate professionals. 14 of us met. Of the 14, 6 of us started the initial investment club. But we've only been established a year and a half. But the money, we've done a smaller amount of investing. But we come across opportunities, especially in real estate, where we can invest in. And so we believe in the group, and so we lent money to the group so the group can help grow.
Mm-hmm.
So we can eliminate some of the funding factor, the red tape.
Yeah.
So and it's a way of making money off your money at the same time, and seeing the group grow. So we're pulling each other up. So
yeah, no, that's very interesting. I want to say about 80 to 90% of the black men that I've met or had exposure to that I would consider successful, they throw them down. Yeah, I got an investment club. Oh, I got this investment club. They always throw them out there because obviously the dollars combined is more than just your dollar.
Yeah, and I learned it from the Asian culture. So and learned from my buddy, and they pour the money together real fast. I mean, it's just unreal how they throw money just to do it, and and all the negative things they say that we don't do. I'm like, well, I'm doing it, so we can do it. Just you got to put your ego aside.
Mm-hmm.
And so just to do it, and so you have to. We're visual people, so and that's why I post a lot of stuff. And I write stuff up to let people know I go left or right, and I may get like on some stuff. I may not get like on none, but I'm in tune with why we are the way we are. Mm-hmm. And I realize his history. A lot of things been whitewashed. What's the truth? We've owned entirely a lot, but we were also people oppressed But some of us are true, navigating. We gotta tap into our spiritual gifts.
Yeah. You talked about posting. I've read some of those posts. Another one I liked is you were like, I'd rather be completely exhausted from putting in the work to achieve something than resting and achieve nothing. I know for me, when I lay down at night, if I'm not exhausted, I'm like, man, I don't feel fulfilled. I haven't done enough today. If when I lay down, I don't feel exhausted. Right. What does that hard work, that grit come from inside of you?
Man, it come from my grandmother. My grandmother always say, get up and do something. She didn't care what it was. And my other cousins, they didn't take heed to the work, but I didn't have a choice, and so it's embedded. It's like, I got to get it done. I got to do it right. I got to, my grandma said, don't lay around like a dog all day. You ain't no dog. Get up and do something. I don't care what it is. So my in the back of my mind is I always say, get up and do something. Get up and do something. So I get up early in the morning.
Yeah.
I start reading whatever I'm gonna do, doing research. It may be like 4 or 5 in the morning. My mind clicks, and I get in there and just start looking.
Yeah. You gotta get up and do something.
You gotta get up and do something.
Gosh, what tips do you have for a new entrepreneur, somebody just getting into business?
Man, something I just said, man, write down your goals to the point of everything's biblical, and don't make your hustle your part of your income, and make it part of your lifestyle. You have to let that money stand alone, and that's the biggest mistake people in our culture, why we don't succeed, is we spend our money on the most, and so the money don't work for us. It's like when my buddies were promoting parties, and I said, man, y'all should put the money up for the next party. Oh man, they want to split it up right down tonight. I said, so how you gonna reinvest? You got to reinvest in your stuff. It's like you got your equipment set up, so you're already set up for the reinvestment side of it. So, and you put it into work. So you got to look at how I'm gonna monetize this, and you have to put like, how can I make money off the things I enjoy? So, and you got to enjoy what you do. And for me, it's constantly just learning. It's constantly helping people out, educating people. But at the same time, I don't want to work for anybody. And working for someone is not an option.
Cool. We'll leave it there, man. That's all I had. I appreciate it. That was good. Yeah. I said that last that was fire. That last time.